Hey guys, welcome to a new video. How are y'all doing? Today I've got a process video of one of my most recent digital pieces. I've been playing a lot of Among Us with some friends lately and got inspired to do a drawing based on an iconic double kill that happened while my friends and I were running from the keys task on the Polis map. I'm not gonna lie, it was a pretty dumb play because we announced that we were gonna head up there at the start of the round, and the two imposters immediately came running for us. We were the only ones that were up there, and the two of them showed up and the deed was done. It's funny thinking back at it because the moment they showed up behind us in the dark, you'd already know what was gonna go down, and we tried to run, and you know what happens next. The moment we got out of the ship, I swear to God, it's like slow motion. It was very, very, very disappointing. Now, I'd like to stress that this is no way an ad for Among Us. I've just been crazy about playing it just like the rest of the internet. And you know, as an artist, you just gotta pop out with some Among Us art. It's certainly been a while since I've done some digital art. If you've seen on my Instagram, I usually like doing a lot of traditional stuff because of my multimedia background, but recently I've been trying to retrain myself into doing some stuff on the computer. Earlier this summer, I ended up doing a pretty extensive digital piece for one of my classes, and it made me realize just how long it's been since I've done any drawings on a program. If you're familiar with digital and traditional, then you know that the transition between the two can be pretty hard depending on how long you've been away from the two. It's really because you're probably used to doing things one way than the other. For me personally, with pen pressure, it's easier to control it traditionally, just because if I want a line weight to be a different weight, I just have to switch pens rather than having to fiddle with the settings. With traditional, it's a bit harder to do a specific pen weight just because the pen pressure that you push down is never going to be exactly as how you want it set on your software, and it'll always change depending on how sensitive your pen is to the tablet or Cintiq you're using. With problems in digital to traditional, I'd say it's probably Control Z. Like having to undo a bunch in digital, you get so used to it, and then when you transfer back to traditional, you get twitchy finger with your pinky in that motion of Control Zing whenever you mess up. I am guilty of also having twitchy finger and attempting to Control Z in traditional. It's very funny. Now, so for this piece, I had a really fun drawing this mostly because of me debating whether or not how detailed I wanted it to be. Like trying to decide if the spacesuits were going to be realistic or not. In the game, you're basically, as a crewmate, a chicken nugget with little nub legs. But a lot of artists like to draw a slightly more realistic version of like a spacesuit to actually make it look like a real spacesuit. And another problem is like whether or not I was going to give them arms, you know, rather than just a floating hand. I ended up going with a pretty simplistic design, but this is also this piece was mainly just for fun for myself. A lot of artists who have a issue in trying to decide different aesthetical decisions usually fall into the gap and are trying to develop their own art style. If you don't know what the gap is, it's basically something like your aesthetical aspirations of a higher skill range than what you are currently capable of, and that's what causes this aesthetical doubt in your decisions. The way I work around this is usually by asking myself, why am I drawing it? Like, what is this, a leisure piece? Or am I doing this for a commission? Is it supposed to be professional? Or am I just doing this on a whim? Obviously for this in particular, all I really wanted was to immortalize this iconic memory. And it was for me and for my friends who were involved in the situation, so I could be easier on myself when making these certain decisions. Like, I'm not really looking for someone's approval as to whether or not I make the spacesuits look like real spacesuits. I could just do whatever. I also usually draw in an anime art style, so this time I wanted to see things with a more modern, cartoon-esque, animatic feel sort of deal. Like, I didn't want to make it look too anime-like and try to define a more regular art style for myself. You could probably see it more in the way that the faces are being made, but I don't know. What do you guys think? I was also a bit more ambitious with this piece than I usually am because of the multiple subjects and the full color background. I still went back to references when coloring the crewmates. Personally, I'm still getting used to using different colors for shading. If you can see with the red, by adding a bit of purple as a shadow instead of a darker shade of red. It gives it a bit more ease than when you draw traditionally. I'd say that digital makes editing drawings easier just because you can change some specific aspects between the layers. If you don't like how you drew a specific line in your line arts, then you can easily undo it, with Ctrl-Z. And if you don't like the color or something, it's not permanent until you save it as an uneditable file. It's really interesting to mess with the blending mode layers and change the tints and opacity of colors, like with the helmets, and to make them look less opaque but still retain some saturation with the multiplied blending layer. You can really utilize digital to help you explore a lot more different options than traditional can, and it honestly adds a whole new dimension to your drawing. For me, it helps me figure out backgrounds. This was probably hands down one of my more technical backgrounds. I don't particularly like drawing architectures and opt for a more naturesque background. You don't really have to stick to too many lines and look for that perspective field. So this was a pretty good practice for me. Also, don't be afraid to use different brushes to snap textures into the ground. The same could be said with traditional. Try to explore with what different tools you have to make different things have a better dimension. It really helps with emulating whatever the object is, especially like what it's made out of. For like grass, you would texture the ground to make it look more wispy for all the individual pieces of grass, or for boxes, you would put like that little metallic shine if it's a metal box, or put a bit more grit if it's a cardboard box. Or if you're going for more plastic, you would have smoother lines and such. Yeah. Don't be afraid to use your references and to always go back to your references, especially when you're doing something like fan art. Utilize the references that you do have, especially when you start learning different types of techniques in art, because referring to someone's original art as a reference really helps with color combinations and compositions of like hands or body parts. That's really what I use references for, aside from accurate colors. But yeah, don't be afraid to try new things, whether you're trying out digital for the first time or trying out traditional for the first time. But yeah, with that, let's finish up this drawing and conclude it to the end. And there you have it. Double trouble. I really like how this piece came out. This mistake will never be forgotten. Don't announce where you're going unless you know everyone's going to come with you, otherwise you're just asking to get killed. And that's it for the video. Go ahead and check out my other videos. Check out my Instagram for the alternate version of this piece, where the deed has been done. I've also got a Twitter if you want to know what I'm up to. Like and subscribe. Hit that post bell notification, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!